The British toy company Palitoy produced an almost countless number of legendary toys that had a tremendous impact on the childhoods of generations of youth. Yet none of this would have been possible without the creative geniuses working behind the scenes. And today I would like to shine the spotlight on one of Palitoy's former toy designers, who sadly passed away on Friday, December 6th, 2024. Brian Turner first joined Palitoy in 1970 as their display manager, and he was responsible for developing in-store toy displays that featured the company's flagship boys brand Action Man, along with displays for many other popular toy lines. Brian also spent much of his time crafting large displays for the annual British toy fairs.
The Red Devil, that was extremely good because I had a lot of clear domes made, which I issued out to the reps so that the in-store they could very easily set up a window display. You know, often these domes, figures on the top, you've got a nice big window right up at eye level.
But when the kid got hold of the parachute, of course, they didn't really have the strength to throw up in the air.
Brian quickly found his footing in this new role, and he reorganised the way the toy fair stand was designed, using a modular octanorm system. Initially, this was a big financial outlay for Palitoy, but this enabled Brian to use the system to design smaller regional shows throughout the year. Before this change, all of Palitoy's display stands were one-off designs that were broken down and destroyed after each event.
British Army have just come out with a new 105mm gun. I looked at it and thought, God, that's fantastic for Action Man. So myself and Ivor Edmonds, we went down to Woolwich Arsenal and they gave us all the drawings and we had photographs and this, that and the other, and came back and scaled it to Action Man.
And it was very popular on in-store displays.
Oh yeah, because
competitions in their holidays. I mean, if we realised it was going to be a collectible item, we would have been going down with the cars down to Baxtergate, wouldn't we?
When Brian was in the Palitoy office, which was rare, he would talk to design director Bill Pugh's secretary June, and the conversations grew into something bigger. Brian and June got married in December 1973, and last year they celebrated their golden wedding anniversary. After marrying June, Brian decided that his job as display manager, which involved many days away from home, was not for him. So he went on to work with Bob Breakin as a toy designer, and some of the first items he worked on were a series of new motorcycles for Action Man.
Brian came on to design after being on display for a few years. I think that's one of your first jobs, wasn't it, the motorbike?
No, I was still on display when I did that. I fancied sort of got the idea for it, made up 3 models, the police motorbike, scrambler bike and a racing bike, presented them to the marketing people and they went ahead with just the police bike. I was a bit disappointed like the others didn't go, but 1 in 3 is not too bad.
Later on in his career, Brian Turner worked on the Palitoy Star Wars Death Star playset, and while this toy was mostly made of cardboard, Brian designed all of the plastic components, such as the crucial 2-piece clips that held the structure of the Death Star together.
We just came up with different ideas, different themes within it, like the tower in the middle, but then I felt when I'd seen the film, it seemed to go on forever, and so we decided to put a mirror at the bottom to give that same effect. You know, it's sort of never-ending. A little bit of silver paper there, and there you are.
In the early 1980s, Brian Turner began designing one of the greatest Action Force toys of all time, the Q-Force Sealion. Brian's early prototype concepts are notably different from the final product, but once his design was finalised, Brian worked with Palitoy process engineer Ken Woolhouse, who began work on the production tooling. Despite its modern-day rarity, the Q-Force Sealion is a remarkable toy, and one of the most outstanding vehicles in the Action Force range, and Brian Turner should be extremely proud of his wonderful creation. I am extremely grateful to have spent several days with Brian Turner back in 2011, when I was recording interviews for the Story of Action Man documentary. Brian was fantastic company, and he was so incredibly generous with his time and knowledge that I can never thank him enough. I also quickly discovered that he had a wonderful sense of humour.
In fact, once I went to Nuremberg, got stopped at the border guard, and the chap couldn't speak any English, and the only way we could get through was to give him a couple of action men.
Bit of bribery on the border.
We got the impression, oh, then he only waved it off then.
That's its uses, action man.
Brian Turner was a hard-working and modest man who simply got on with the job, and he maintained a friendship with Palitoy's chief toy designer Bob Breakin that lasted the rest of his life.
There was a chap called Les Story contacted me and said, Bob, we've got this Action Man convention down in Bovington Camp, where there's a big tank museum down in Dorset. He says, you'd like to come down, and I said, Oscar, I'll ask Brian Turner, the display manager, because he'd be interested.
In 1994, Brian and Bob were joined by Palitoy's design director Bill Pugh when they attended the first ever Action Man Collectors Convention.
Well, the first time probably me and Bill, we met sort of collectors. Yeah, we met customers and people who played with it, but nobody who collected it really. Then to get a group of collectors there, were quite enthusiastic and far more knowledgeable out in the range than I was.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I'm asking questions, I have no idea.
While Brian's decision to move into a toy design role was certainly a fantastic move for both Palitoy and the British public, I know that he still thoroughly enjoyed his time as the company's display manager.
It's always seemed worthwhile, because when you set them up in windows, the way we set them up, people's faces lit up when they saw them. Got great enjoyment from it.
May you rest in peace now, Brian. And on behalf of the Action Man, Action Force and Palitoy collecting community, we would like to sincerely thank you for helping to create such a wonderful experience for an entire generation of British children. Godspeed, kind sir. You will be missed by all who knew you.